Sorry about that. The signal is a little weird. I do the
That's no problem.
podcast through my phone, so but the listeners know that. So back to introducing you. You are to me the best dating coach in the world. But this is your name is Chris Jones. Everybody, he's really, really, really awesome. And he's going to give us some valuable, amazing information on dating for us single ladies and gentlemen. So, Chris, I'd really like to know what made you start being a dating coach, and what are like the top, I would say, 5-10 tips that you think could be universally applied for male and female dating?
Sure. So thank you for having me first and foremost. Okay, so I'll give a brief overview of how I got into being a dating and relationship coach. So as a kid growing up, I started off as a nightclub promoter. I started doing events actually around 16, so I was actually underage. But all the jobs I've had from the age of 16 up to current day have all been people-centric. I'm fascinated by people. Inherently, I like people. I like people watching when I'm at restaurants or when I'm out with my friends, etc. A bit nosy. So started with a nightclub promoter, did events all over around the world, so Cancun, Malia, UK. And then after about 9-10 years, I transitioned at the age of about 26 into recruitment. And was working with technology professionals around the world, also people-centric in terms of sales. And then all the way through my life, I've always been giving advice to my friends, family, male and female. And then due to my personal experiences in terms of dating, when we used to have or dinner, people would say to me, you know what, Chris, you should write a book, you should give advice, I'll pay for your advice. I was like, no, not really about that life, it's not for me. But then, I think due to certain things like the pandemic and life's changing, I thought, what is going to satisfy my soul? What is it that I want to do moving forward for the rest of my life? And this has been my calling. So plunged and took the decision to then, start a business, offering professional advice to professional men and women, coaching myself, getting professional certifications, etc. And it's been a joy so far. Obviously, through that journey, I've met you, so I've coached you, so you know exactly what I'm about. And here we are today. So that's been my journey.
That is amazing. And unfortunately the intro got messed up because of the signal, but with this podcast, and the reason why I think you're so valuable to the podcast and many people out there is because my podcast, we talk about lifer, love yourself, being fully equipped and being real and genuine, with yourself. And I think that those qualities apply in all areas of life, especially with relationships and also dating and getting to know other people. So I really appreciate you being on here, and I can't wait to let my listeners know about my experience. Just before I do that, I'd really like some just quick tips, because some people, they just want to like write some notes down, have some tips, and start dating right away. So what would you recommend for those individuals?
Okay, so tips that can be applicable to both sexes. First tip, I would say, probably the most important tip: know yourself. A lot of people go into dating or want to get into a relationship, but they have the right intention. And what I mean by that is that they don't know what they want. So typically, I'm sure a lot of people can sympathise and empathise with this. You meet someone and you say to them, so what are you looking for? What are you hoping to achieve? And they're like, I don't know, see how it goes, go in the flow. I know when I meet it, I know when I see it. Typically, that is not something you want to be beginning with, because when you're dating with intention, and when you're dating from the perspective with an end goal, i.e. kids, marriage, long-term relationship, when you go into, the Walmart in the US or Sainsbury's or Tesco's, whatever it may be, you don't go in there because you're bored. You go in there to buy food. You're hungry, you need to feed yourself, so you go in with a purpose and intention. You're not going in there to waste time. There's a purpose. You need to treat dating in the same way. If you don't know what you're doing, or care, or it's not really something you really want to be doing, don't do it, because you're wasting your time and you're wasting other people's time, and inevitably that isn't going to lead to anything good whatsoever. So that's the first thing I would say. Once you do know what you're looking for, and let's assume that you are looking for a relationship in this case, and you want to meet someone, you then need to actually set boundaries for yourself. And by boundaries, I mean values and expectations and standards. What do I want? What do I not want? What will I accept? What will I not accept? And those boundaries and things you accept don't move due to the person you see. So for instance, if you're someone who doesn't want to date a smoker, someone who someone with kids, or someone that doesn't want to date someone who miles away, when you meet someone, if those are your boundaries, you set them for a reason. They shouldn't be changing based on, oh, perhaps, I'll give this a go. Because fundamentally what you're doing is you're sacrificing what you actually want for the greater good. That is never good, okay? I would say is don't sacrifice yourself. And what I mean by that, you have situations where you're codependent, where one person in a relationship or one person when you're dating tries to change the other person or tries to make them a better person. That is not what you're there to do. Your own goal and own focus, self. When you meet someone, they get the best version of isn't to be Mother Teresa, to go around the world trying to change people for the better. Yeah, you need to focus on yourself. And one of the things I did quite recently on my Instagram, I put a poll out to say basically, do you think that you are giving the best version of yourself, authentic version of yourself? And 87% of the people, and that men and women, said no. And I put another poll out saying, what are you doing about that? And then of those, only 10% of that 87% were actually doing something to better themselves. So basically what that means is there's a large proportion of people out there who know they're not quite right in the right space, but they're out there dating and are not doing anything to actually focus on making themselves a better version of themselves. That's a quite worrying statistic, okay? So from that perspective, don't focus on them, focus on you.
Nice. You're awesome.
Thank you.
So my experience, well, we met, well, we didn't technically meet, but I found you through Clubhouse. I was scrolling through the groups that were available to listen to, and one of the subject lines said like, dating, looking for love, all that fun stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not dating, but I'm looking for love. Let's hear what they got to say, And when I clicked on the group, you actually were already talking. So I was listening to a lot of things you said, and it just really, fell in line with like my beliefs and what I was looking for. And me, for like a single individual, I look at like if you're sick or something, you probably want to see a doctor, right? A professional. If you want to learn how to cook, you take a cooking class. If you want to play guitar or dance, you take a class, because you need the skills to prepare you to excel at whatever it is that you are trying to do, right? So I look at things that way, and I said to myself, well, I'm single and I'm not quite sure why. I could use the help. So, I should probably look into talking to a professional. And a lot of people get like shy about that because, oh, it's dating. But if you do it with every other area in your life, why would dating be, not the same thing? So that's when I really decided to, reach out to you and see what you could do to help me. And I was really excited about, how we work together. I felt as though you really took the initiative to look through my profile, look through my pictures, like give me really good advice. And what I really liked is that you noticed that I needed to be more social. And with quarantine and with, the pandemic that happened, I didn't realize that myself until you challenged me to say, hey, go for walks, say hi to people, go to a coffee shop, go to a meetup. And throughout that journey, following your advice, that's when I came to the conclusion, like, wow, I haven't really been that social. How am I supposed to date if I don't interact with people? So that part of what you did for me really helped. And then, a lot of your advice was definitely a rude awakening. But the good thing about you, and what I really respect and appreciate, is you don't sugarcoat it. You don't put like little flowers and perfume. You're like, look, this is what it is, and I can definitely respect that. So I really enjoyed your help. I think your services are amazing. I know you have a few packages that you offer. So I'd like for you to just go into detail on those packages, so if anyone listening is interested and go on a journey like I have, they know what to expect.
That's fine. I respect those kind words. And just before I go into the packages, you touched on a couple of points which I wholeheartedly agree on, because like you said, if you want to learn to cook, you might hire a chef. If you want to learn how to, take a car apart, you'd hire a mechanic. But dating is a skill. People don't realize that. People just think you just aimlessly walk into it and, what will be. And there is an element of luck to it, but that's a very, very, very small part of it. You have to do things with intention. And if you want to be the best version of yourself when you meet someone, if there are areas from your subconscious or from your attachment style, your background, your love languages, if you don't know that kind of stuff about yourself, then how is someone else going to know that about you? Because you don't know yourself inherently. So dating is a skill, which I think people need to understand. And the more skillful you are, the better chance you have of being successful. So I'm glad you had that positive experience with myself. And like you said, I'm not there to play games. I'm not there to tell you what you want to hear. I will challenge you. My job is to care for you and make sure that you're looked after, that we have a good session, that you go out there after our sessions feeling positive, understanding the reality of the world that we live in when it comes to relationships, right? And I think one of the things that differentiates me is that they're a bit too fluffy, for want of a better word, and don't say it how it is. And I liken it to when you've got your girlfriends around and you say, "Oh, my bum look big in this," and then the friends look at each other and say, "Oh, you can tell her," or "It's not the right time to tell her." "You can tell her. You can tell her." I'm not that type of guy. I'll just say, "Yes, it does. Maybe you want to consider this for these reasons." So it's said with the right intentions, but with a lot of love. So I'm glad you appreciate that. But yeah, coming back to stuff that I do. So I do transformation days, which is 8 or 9 hours intensive days where we look at attachment styles, love languages, positive communication, positive intent, how to move things forward from the first date to second date, which is quite intense, which is applicable to some people. But I think one of the most popular services I have is actually the one-on-one consultations that I do. So consultations typically last between half an hour to an hour, which is obviously what we did together. But prior to the conversations and consultations, I do like a 15-minute to half an hour chat for take on to actually understand what is the issue. Am I the right person? Because sometimes there may be something that I can help with, but I'm not necessarily the right person due to complexity or due to a particular area. Most of the time I am, but it's good for us to build, understand how we can both work together, and that's important. So I just don't take on anyone. We do like the free consultation first. One thing that has been taken off more recently is the online service. So online dating is prevalent to everyone in the world. So I offer services where I can look at your dating profile and basically optimize it to make sure that what you say in your bio is applicable and that it's positive for the sex you're looking to date. Also your pictures as well, to make sure that the right lighting, right shade, you're obviously giving off the character and the personality of who you actually are. So there's different options. I do basically everything and look after everything in the life cycle of relationships. The only thing I don't do is I'm not a matchmaker. That's something I don't get involved in. But everything else I look after.
Awesome. There's this saying, I've heard it throughout my life growing up, and I want to know what you think about this saying. They say that it's like a quote unquote like a wives like saying that men are like parking spots. They're either handicapped taken or too far away. What are your thoughts about that saying?
I think that's what I would probably say. If men are like parking spaces, if the parking space near you is not there, go and find another one.
Nice. Really nice. I like that.
That's what I would say, yeah. There's always going to be a parking space available somewhere. It just means you have to look a bit harder. There's always going to be one there for you.
Awesome. So we have a few more minutes. I just have some random questions that
Sure.
A few days before the podcast, I put on my Instagram any questions that you might have for the dating coach. Because this is recorded on a phone and it's not live, I took questions prior to us recording. So some of the questions that were sent to me on Instagram, hold on, I'm just looking them up now.
No worries.
Let's see here. One lady asked, how do you date on Instagram? I thought that was interesting. I never looked at Instagram as like a platform for dating. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, any form of social media is a medium to instigate interaction with other people. So LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, etc. My thoughts on Instagram is that you get the typical I think it's good to you can obviously message people and interact. However, I do feel Instagram is a bit of a free fall. I mean, even the fact that you have the slide into the DMs, that is a phrase that's purely to Instagram. It's not linked to any other app like Tinder or Hinge or Bumble, etc. And my experience of clients who have that is that they get inundated, sometimes with spam, sometimes with guys who have not got the right intentions, or F-boys, for instance, etc. So I'll take it with a pinch of salt. But one thing I would say about Instagram, which is good, is that if they message you, that'll give you an insight into their lives and who they are. What I would advise is, if you are going to do that, look at their history, but don't look at the past year. Go back to the start of their Instagram, see what they were 5-6 years ago. Because when 5-6 years ago, when they got their Instagram up, they weren't thinking 6 years later they're going to be hitting you up. So you can give you an idea of their personality, how they really are. One thing I will say to women and men is that when you meet someone, always be conscious of the person you're meeting, and by that, make sure that you're not meeting a representative. And what I mean by that is the representative is the person that they're trying to be, or the person that they're trying to portray to you that they are, because they know if they portray who they really are, you're probably not going to be interested in them. Okay, so Instagram does give you some kind of detective work to go through and think, you know what is this guy or what is this girl really about? So that is a plus point of it. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, great. There's 4 more questions here in the front. There's a lot of questions, but I'm just going to do the first come first serve. Sure. So the next question here on my Instagram was, what are the best dating apps to meet people?
Okay, so I'm going to assume, but I don't know, for and not just a hookup, they all have their plus and merits and minus, etc. Personal opinion, I would say Hinge. That's from a UK perspective. And the reason I like that is because it gives you the opportunity to have prompts to get your personality across there. One thing I will say to you though, with the prompts, do not be basic with it. I.e., when it says to you stuff like, give me an unpopular thought that you have. Oh, I like pineapple on pizza. Or tell me the biggest risk you've taken. Oh, I quit my job. Those are basic answers which 80% of the people on the app are saying. So if you're going to use the prompts to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, because let's be honest, most women at some point have choice, okay? Say something interesting, say something that's captivating, say something that's different, say something that's going to think, someone's going to think, you know what, that's pretty good. Let me engage with that person, okay? So be authentic and try and be different. So Hinge is good. Tinder gets a bad rep. I will say though, I think it's a bad rep because it has the widest community. And I mean, it's got the bad is bad, but the good is good. But there's a lot of in between, okay? So you have to be positive, and I will say you can find good people on all the apps, okay? Don't just think there's people there just messing around, which there are. There are good people, but it's your job to filter, know what your values are, know the boundaries, and get rid of the nonsense and accept the good. That's your job.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to do one more question here, and then I actually have a question.
Sure.
So this one's really cute. A lady asked, is it okay to kiss on the first date?
100% yes. So here's my theory about stuff like this. Like, people say no sex on the first date, wait till the third date. My honest opinion of this is, okay, do what feels right, okay? That's the first point. However, if you know that you think that you're going to be heartbroken, or you're going to struggle with the thought of him rejecting you or ghosting you if you have sex on the first date, if he's promised you that you're the best thing since sliced bread and he really likes you, but then afterwards you find out that he doesn't contact you after, if you're that type of person who mentally is not going to deal with that, do not do it. You need to protect your feelings. If you're okay with that, whether it be a kiss or sex on the first date, then yes, because great things can happen. Don't let barriers or societal rules or the done thing put you off experiencing a great date. No, I can't kiss you. No, if he leans in for the kiss and you're attracted, it's been a good date, that's reciprocal, have a kiss. There's nothing wrong with that. So yes, get those lips puckered. That's what I say.
Awesome. And I have a question based off of what we just talked about with the F boy. So I never knew. I was always embarrassed. I never knew what that meant, and I'm thinking that there are other people out there who also don't know what F boy means. So if you can explain what that is for everyone, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, so F boy basically stands for fuck boy. So different variations and definitions of that, but in layman's terms, it's basically a guy who's just looking to have sex with multiple women with no ideas or no ambitions or aspirations of settling down, and that comes in many forms. And the reason he's a fuckboy compared to another guy who just wants sex is because typically those F-boys will gas you up and tell you all the nonsense and all the things that you're the greatest thing they've ever seen. They love your smile, they love your brain, all that nonsense, okay? But really, they're just doing that to get you into bed. And once you've got you into bed, they'll get rid of you, they'll ghost you, they'll ignore you, they'll not interact with you, or what they'll do is they'll be doing it with multiple other women, so then you're one of many women that actually using that fuckboy behavior. Boy, and if you want to get rid of those, looking for something intentional, who actually wants to be with you, who wants to date you, then if you're one of many, then there's going to be no progress there. And the downside of that is that you're actually having your heart and your feelings attached to this man who has no real emotional connection to you. That's why it's an issue.
Okay. Wow, you've given us so many gems today on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Can you just end with your handles, like your social media, your Clubhouse, how someone can get to your website? I know there's a link on your Instagram. Yeah, sure. So if you want to just close with that, I'd really appreciate it.
Find me on Instagram. It's Chris Jones _ the Snug Room. And the Snug Room is obviously the SNUG room. The Snug Room is Chris Jones _ the Snug Room. If you're on Clubhouse, you want to find me and contact me there, it's at the Snug Room. That's my handle. And my website is www.thesnugroom.com.
Oh, wow. Nice. All together. And also, for those of you listening, if you're kind of too lazy to type all that in, if you go to my page, which I'm sure you're already on my page, you can just go to my friends and type in Chris and his name will pop right up. And then you can just click him from my page. So I will be posting this podcast on Sunday. I look forward to collaborating with you again. It was such a pleasure to have you on my podcast.
You enjoy the music as well?
Oh, I love the music. You have an amazing taste in music, and thank you for the motivation and sending me all the music.
Very welcome. Very welcome indeed.
All right. So to our next podcast. Bye.
Bye. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.